Welcome to this episode of Puck Drop, special NHL 2020 entry draft edition. We are joined here today by our colleague, Raghav Ladda, making his first appearance on Puck Drop, I believe, right? Yeah, we have not had him on yet. And so Raghav, you're actually going to run the first half of this video. Tell us what you think about the Rangers draft picks. And, when you're done with that, let us know what you think about what the Devils did. Go ahead.
All right, so the Rangers, obviously, number one pick, chose the right guy, Alexis Lafreniere. He's the best player available, franchise talent. It's going to be really good. And then they traded up from 22 with Calgary. They got pick 19, chose right-handed defenseman Braden Schneider. He's really good. He's probably going to be a solid defensive defenseman, second pair probably. But they have a lot of right defensemen already, right? Trouba. They got Fox. They have D'Angelo. They have Nils Lundqvist in Sweden right now. So they have a lot of those guys. I didn't think that was the best chance or like the best pick because they had a lot of chances to draft centers and left defensemen, which they needed more. And then
the fact they chose Schneider kind of shows me they might not be committing long term to Tony DeAngelo.
Yeah, I think they're getting rid of Tony DeAngelo quickly. Hopefully they find a way to dump Trouba's contract too. And then there's a second round. There was a lot of rumors of them trading Ryan Strome, but they never did that. They could have gotten a good center early second round. And then they ended up trading a center prospect, Elias Anderson, for the 60th pick at the bottom of the second round, and they drafted a left winger. Our two strongest positions right now, right defense and left wing. And those are the two things that they drafted, so I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, besides the Rangers, what are some other picks that interested you in the first round?
One thing in particular that interested me was the Buffalo Sabres drafting Jack Quinn at 8.
Oh yeah, that interested everyone. I think in a bad way.
Yeah, Marco Rossi, I think should have gone maybe top 5, top 7 for sure. And a lot of teams missed out on him. Like the Devils, for example, they chose Holtz, right? They chose the right guy. They have two good centers, Heischer and Hughes. They didn't really need to choose Rossi.
Yeah, no, great job by the Devils, first of all. Great draft. I know this wasn't what Jordan expected, but, we could use a goal scorer.
The Devils just had their next pick, which was the third round pick they got from the Hurricanes in the same Gutton trade, and they selected 2019-20 OHL goaltender of the year, Nico Daws. The Devils now have 2 Nikos and 2 Jespers.
I mean, they don't really need that many goalies. I think Mackenzie Blackwood's pretty good.
I think the Devils' strategy under the Shiro regime, which I think is probably going to carry over to the Fitzgerald regime, is that they just pick a goalie every year and hope one of them pans out. So far, Blackwood's panned out, but if Nico Daws is good, because this is the highest the Devils have picked a goalie since Blackwood. So hopefully Nico Daws pans out and be another solid goalie.
I thought what you were going to say was that the Devils should get Matt Murray as the 1B. You have to admit that was
Murray was traded to
Murray, you didn't hear about that?
Murray was traded to Ottawa.
No, did you not hear me? I said I thought you guys remember when you thought that? Do you remember when you kept saying that he should get traded to the Devils?
They could trade for him. They never.
Yes. What I'm telling you to do is say that it wasn't really a good idea in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know if it was going to be a good idea because you got traded to Ottawa, not the Devils.
When you're wrong.
Murray's not that good. He won.
No, he's not.
But he would be a backup to Blackwood.
But why would we get him as a backup is the question. But we're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to move on. Because I didn't realize this was going to be such a hot topic. I thought you guys were just going to be like,
Can we talk about one pick that also interested me?
Go ahead.
Speaking of Ottawa, the Ottawa Center is drafting Sanderson at 5. What's the deal with that?
Yeah.
Raghav?
Not a good pick in my opinion. He's a great defender, right? I thought he's the best defenseman in the draft.
Guys, this is irrelevant, but what did you think of the Jeopardy?
That was nice.
Oh,
yeah. That was
good.
But
they did that for Stutzel, right?
Yeah. But Jake Sanderson. Jake Sanderson is a very safe pick, which I think is why I say the Ottawa took him. He probably has one of the highest floors of any player in this draft, which means he's
but not a very
He's
good season.
yeah, he at the worst, he's probably going to be like a second or third pair defenseman. At best, probably a top pair, a top pair guy. But a guy Jake Sanderson kind of reminds me of is a certain player who was drafted in 2012 by the New York Islanders, Griffin Reinhart. Not sure if you heard of him. If you haven't, it makes sense because he's a huge bust. And it kind of Griffin Reinhart was thought of as a very safe pick back in 2012, because scouts were overlooking some of his flaws, and I think that's the same thing that's going on with Jake Sanderson. I think Jake Sanderson could definitely end up being a bust.
Yeah, but no, I don't know. I'm gonna give him a try before we start comparing him to people like Griffin Reinhart or any of those.
Yeah, and also, I disagree with the philosophy. Jake Sanderson is a good player. Don't get me wrong. He has the potential to be a very good player. But I disagree with the philosophy that caused the Senators to pick him, drafting the safe pick. I believe that so if they were going for defensemen, yeah, they were going for that position. I believe you draft the player with the higher ceiling, and if they bust, well, that's on your development team.
I agree because with Sanderson, he's a great player. Like, people think that his problem is no offensive upside. I think he's underrated that way. He's actually pretty good both ways. He can be at the top, maybe a top pairing defenseman. He's a great player. But when you have a pick at 5, right, you can get a franchise-altering player, especially with this draft. They could have gotten Drysdale, they could have gotten Rossi, they could have gotten Perfetti, and they chose.
Oh, absolutely. They should have gotten Drysdale if they were going for defensemen, which I think they were because they drafted Sanderson.
You know what's so funny? Have we even mentioned Alexis Lafreniere yet?
Well, we did briefly, but there's not much to say about him, really. He's going to be a great player on the Rangers. And Jake Sanderson is probably going to turn out to be a god, and then Eugene Melnyk is going to trade him to the Rangers.
Yeah.
So
I just want to say a couple of things. The Rangers. First of all, I hate to say it, they have, especially this draft, they have proven that they have a better future than any other team in the NHL right now, just in my opinion. You guys might disagree, but I think they are set. What do you think, Raghav?
I think so too, but there's some big
Especially
holes.
on the goaltending side. Genius idea buying out Lundqvist.
No, not a genius idea. I hated that.
No.
Hated
You don't
that.
think so?
Well, that's because you're biased again. You're biased
No,
for
no, hear me
Lundqvist.
out.
Yeah, you are. I think it was from a business standpoint, from a hockey standpoint,
No,
from the standpoint of the guy sitting right next to me. It was a brilliant idea. For everybody except for Rangers fans would be saying that.
I think there's a limit to where you go with business, right? When that player, he does everything with your franchise, right? And he puts his heart and soul into that team.
And he's been rewarded for his service. Don't deny that. He was bought out. He's getting paid still.
Yeah, but I mean, even financially, right? It's not the best move. Now you still have to pay him, I think, $5.5 million this year.
Yeah, and the Rangers
is not protected.
If you combine the Shattenkirk buyout, the Lundqvist buyout, and the Girardi buyout, the Rangers are paying I think $12 million.
$12 million almost.
Yeah, almost $12 million in dead money, which you can't do. That's not good in a flat cap world. Plus, they also got to sign D'Angelo, Strome, Georgiev, and Lemieux. Probably I think either Strome or D'Angelo. Probably gotten a lot more like the Strome, but still, that's a lot of money tied up in.
Yeah, but can I just say one thing real quick, Raghav? Don't you just, let's be honest, is next year really going to be the Rangers' year already? No way. They're going to have a couple of years to go.
Hear me out.
Oh.
So of course it's not, right? But suppose you get a really good second line center, you get yourself a good left defenseman, right? You've seen it in the playoffs. Any team can get past anybody. Like it happened last year with Columbus.
But that was Spurs this year. Keep going.
Exactly. So any team can get by anybody, right? You fill your two major holes, a second line center and a good like defensive, sort of stay at home or like a two-way left defenseman. Now you got a solid group. You have good young players coming in. People like Kako, Hedel, Fox, they're all going to improve. And maybe Trouba bounces back, right? Now you got a team that can compete. And Lundqvist, he's still a serviceable goalie, right? He's still I think he's still a good guy for 30 games, maybe for the next 2 years. So if they just given him, let him play that year out at $8.5 million, then maybe give him one more contract after that for a year. and try to win in the next 2 years. But
I think the problem
I
was
think they could be competitive this year.
I think the problem was though they didn't want to have, not that they didn't want to get rid of Lundqvist, they didn't want to have 3 goalies on their team, and they didn't want to trade Georgiev.
I see this year for them almost as the end of the retooling stage. They're going to show that they're not a bad team anymore. They're going to show that their future is incredibly bright, but they're not ready yet. They just bought out all these players. They I feel like they're ready for the next stage more than any other team who's rebuilding is. They just still, I feel like, need just one more year of it. That's just my opinion.
you know how
Agreed.
the Devils, everybody going into this season, the 2019-20 season, everybody was like, Devils can make the playoffs. Devils can make some noise, right?
God, just one more year. I promise you. As a Devils fan.
Unless they get a good, like two-way defenseman for the left side next to Trouba, and maybe a second line center. Unless they get those two things, I don't see them, being as good as people say.
But listen.
All right. Well, I mean, I think we're running out of time on this segment. I want to get to talking about the Devils picks.
Yeah.
So
one more year, Raghav. Listen, just one more year. I promise you. I just think, as a Devils fan, if I'm putting myself, and this is so hard to do, believe me, in the shoes of a Ranger fan, it's hard to admit, but just one more year of struggling. Just one more, I promise. Anyway,
all right.
With that being said, Raghav, I think we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for joining us here on Puck Drop. We hope to see you soon. Take care. Have a good day. Wave to the little amount of fans we have watching.
All right, bye.
All right.
So let's get to talking about the Devils picks. And I want to talk about what I think about drafting Alexander Holtz. Originally, I was probably wrong earlier when I was so high on Sanderson with some thinking, but I've always been a fan of Holtz because he may not have been the absolute best player in that spot because Rossi is a better overall player. However, he complements Hughes. He's a goal scorer.
He's a much better fit, even though he wasn't the best player available.
He's a better fit.
He was in my opinion, he's probably pretty even with Perfetti, maybe slightly worse, but Rossi was definitely a better player. He's a much better fit.
Yeah, there were better players to draft there. However, he's such a good fit because we have Jack Hughes and now we have Alexander Holtz, who's a goal scorer. Guys, we got a goal scorer. Can you believe it?
I know, it's a miracle.
God.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
But hold your horses, Jordan. This is assuming, and a lot more players are getting this nowadays. He's not going to attract the injury buff. He's not going to ever be able to adjust. There's a lot of things that can happen, so don't get too excited, but be happy.
That's what can happen for any player.
Exactly, but you're like, this is Jordan, and this is just who you are as a fan. Excuse me. You just assume any player, and a lot of people do this, so don't get offended. Any player who comes out of the draft is just going to end up being who everybody expected they were. You have to just keep in mind, like me and Jacob, that there is a possibility.
Yeah, but take into account this is possible with any other player, and it's easier to just go off of what you expect.
This is a recurring problem the Devils have. That's the thing.
What do you mean?
I mean, they're fine drafters, I think.
It's a recurring problem the Devils have had.
Really? Go on.
Okay. All right. You're right. Okay. I should go on. So we're going to exclude Blackwood and Hischier there because that's two players in current time that I cannot give this to. But we cannot talk about Hughes yet. But we can, however, talk about Pavel Zacha.
Ryan, you're the biggest advocate of Pavel Zacha because Ray Shero drafted him.
No, I'm not. I admitted to you yesterday, and you guys did not. Actually, did we put that on Instagram? No, we didn't. I even admitted to you yesterday that was the one bad thing I can think that was Ray Shero. It wasn't Ray Shero's fault, but it ended up being unfortunate. Really, Zacha, the Devils, I'm sorry, he just didn't work for me.
Actually, it's true. But it's
true of any play.
What's going on with Miles Wood right now? I'm so confused too.
What are you talking about with Miles Wood?
Yeah, he's fourth line fodder. He's fine.
No, continue on with Zacha, please, because we don't need to talk about Wood right now. Go ahead.
Then why do you? Okay, never mind. All right, let's just talk about.
Yeah, why'd you bring him up?
I'm just trying to keep him in your mind because he's a fourth liner. Go ahead, Jacob.
Zacha, even though Devils fans were very hyped about Zacha, I don't think they really quite first of all, that was a very off the board pick in 2015 at 6th overall. Second, I think that's a case of the Devils over scouting Pavel Zacha and Zacha and even Zacha's coach in juniors said to the media recently this past season he never saw Zacha as more than a middle six two-way forward. So clearly the Devils not do a very good job there, but I think that's the only case where like the Devils have really hyped up a guy and he hasn't really delivered as much, obviously, besides Hughes' past season, but let's wait till this year.
Your point is that you can't go off of what you expect. However, that's true of every single player in this draft.
Yeah,
so it's easier to go off of what you expect because we can't predict what everything.
Jordan, I think you're missing my point.
Can't predict everything.
In 5 years, we could be looking back at this draft and say, "Oh, Lafreniere was the biggest bust of all time," but we don't know that.
And we can look back at like we could also look back at the 7th round and be like, "Oh, he's the best player of all time." We just have to go off of what we expect now because it's so much easier.
But you have to stop being so excited. That's what I'm saying.
I'm allowed to be excited.
And Jacob, you have to admit this. I am very good with drafts. I get excited when they pick a player that they should get, but I do not go freaking crazy because I know that there's more of a possibility.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Ryan.
Would you listen to me or are you just going to interrupt me?
Go on.
Okay, thank you. You know me. You saw me yesterday, Jacob. You know me. I get happy when the Devils draft a good player, but I never, ever go crazy optimistic because there's more of a chance that they end up being a disappointment than they actually do end up living up to standards.
And there's also a chance that they exceed their standards. And they also have a chance of exceeding their standards. My point is we can't predict the future, so let's live in the now. How about that?
Yeah, let's talk about how these players are doing. Ryan, you're focusing on how they might do in the future. But we should focus on
wait, hold on a minute. That's why we draft for the future.
That's a good point.
Yeah, except we can't predict the future. So why not focus on the here and now and what we think will be the future?
Hold on. That was worse than your analogy with the rats and the snakes.
No, that was not worse.
Oh my God. All right.
Nothing will beat the rats and the snakes. But can we talk about
the Devils still have 2 more players?
Can we talk about the 18th and 20 picks?
Sure, go ahead, Jordan.
Dawson Mercer, and can I start talking about Dawson Mercer because
go ahead.
I love Dawson Mercer. Over the summer, I watched a bunch of highlights and game footage from some of the top prospects in this year's draft and players who are just kind of supposed to go in the first round, and I just fell in love with Dawson Mercer. I had him going at 12, I think, in my mock draft, and I have him at 11 in my personal rankings. And the fact he fell to 18 to the Devils, I was so happy when the Devils picked him. He's going to be the perfect and he plays wing and center. So if the Devils want, he could be an amazing third line defense two-way center for them, or he can be a scoring top 6 player, play with Nico or Jack. Like he is so diverse in that aspect that he's really a good fit for almost any team, and especially.
Yeah, but what do you think of this? What do you think of this guy at 20? Like this KHL guy.
Shakir Mukhamadullin. I think that's how you say it. Shakir Mukhamadullin.
Yeah, that's gonna sound good when the PA and Shakir and the goal scored by Shakir Mukhamadullin.
I could just imagine the Devils guy going, Devils goal! Yeah, that would be hilarious.
Yeah. No,
what do you think of him?
I think it's fine. I have no opinion on it.
I didn't, before the draft, I did not know that much about him. I watched one highlight video of him after I heard of him like a few months ago. But I had him at like 27 on my personal rankings and like 30 and like 40 on my mock draft. So it's definitely a bit of a reach by the Devils. I was surprised, but not upset, because especially if you look into it a bit more, he has 6 points in 14 KHL games this season. and along with a solid defensive game, Shakir Muhammad-Zalin is looking to be a solid middle pair defenseman in the NHL.
Yeah, I think what happened was they wanted Schneider, but the Rangers went up to grab him, and they realized that it would have been a mistake to leave the first round without a defenseman.
Yeah, so guys, honestly, we could talk about the draft all day and all night for the next 10 years, but I think it's a good time to wrap it up right now. So, what do you guys think?
I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we should wrap it
thank
up.
you guys. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below on your opinions on the draft and this video, of course. It would be great if you continue to watch Puck Drop videos because, well, not only do we need and deserve the views, but we love doing this for you guys. There's nothing we love more than talking about hockey, as you guys all know. So, with that being said, Jordan, why don't you do the puck_blah, blah, blah for the Instagram? Go ahead.
Yeah. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Remember to follow us on Instagram, puck_drop@LHS.source. That's right, puck_drop@LHS.source.
That's wrong. Twitter. You just said puck_drop@LHS. It's puck_drop.LHS.source. That's right.
You know what? Change the handle then.
All right, maybe. All right, I'll do it for you, Jordan. Anyway, follow us on Twitter @Jacob. What's our Twitter?
@LHS Puck Drop.
All right. I'm going to end this now because the intro is taking longer than it has in any other video. So thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
In my youth, yeah, I was told happiness is by